Hi everybody, I want to go over the work that was set on the 23rd. So question number 1 was find 25% of £501.50. There's a few different ways that you can do this. First of all, you could divide it by 4, because some of you will know that 25% is a quarter. If you were doing that mentally, you'd probably half it and then half it again. But the way that I'm going to show you here is to find 20% and then to find 5%, because that method would also work if it was 23%. It would also work if it was 37%. So it works for every single one. So that's the way I'm going to show you how to do it here. So first of all, you have to divide by 10 and then multiply by 2. That's how you'd find 20%. Now when dividing by 10, the decimal point would move one place to the left. So it would be £50 and 15 pence. Then I would multiply that by 2 and it would give me £100 and 30 pence. Now to find the 5%, I would have to divide by 100 and that would give me 1%, and then I would multiply by 5. So when I divide by 100, the decimal point moves 2 places to the left, so you've got 5.015, and when I multiply that by 5, 5 5s are 25, 5 1s are 5 and 2 is 7, 5 zeros are 0, the decimal point, and 5 5s are 25. Now what I need to do is I have to add these up. And when you're doing this, it's really important to keep the decimal point in the same column. And therefore, your total is going to be £125 and 38 pence. So £125 and 38 pence. You have to do it to 2 decimal places because you're dealing with money. Now, question number 2 was multiplying fractions. The easiest way to do that is first of all to change it into a top-heavy fraction. So 2 times 4 gives you 8, plus 1 gives you 9 over 4, multiplied by 1 times 3 is 3, plus the 2 gives you 5 over 3. Now notice that the numbers in the bottom, the denominators, are the same. It's only the number in the top that changes. So when you multiply the top, you end up with 45, and on the bottom you're going to end up with 12. You might want to simplify that. You could divide top and bottom by 3, and that would give you 15 over 4. How many times does 4 go into 15? Well, it goes in 3 times, and then there's 3 left over, so 3 3/4. And that's you solved that problem. Question number 3 was all about substitution. Now, in the question, it tells you that A is 2 and B is minus 3. So what that means is that every time we come across an A, we're going to replace it with 2, and every time that we come across a B, we're going to replace it with a minus 3. So what I've still got is I've got 2 times the 2 plus the minus 3. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 3 gives us 1. And that's the final answer for that one. The second one there, b squared, so I'm going to have minus 3 squared. What you need to know is that when you square a negative, it becomes positive. So minus 3 times minus 3 is 9. And the last one there, I'm going to have 5, and in the bracket this time I'm still going to have the minus 3, and then I'm mixing up my pens here, take away the 2. So 5 times minus 3 is minus 15, then I'm taking away 2, and that gives me minus 17. Question number 4 was to simplify or collect like terms. Now, what I need to do first of all is I need to count up how many x's I have in total. So I've got 2x, take away x, which gives me 1x, and then I'm going to take away 5x. So if I've got £1 in the bank and I take away £5, it gives me minus £4. So I've got minus 4x. When I'm sorting out the y's there, you can see here I've got 7y, and I've got 3y, that gives me 10y. And that's my final answer. Question number 5 was solving equations. Now when I have to solve, I have to find out what x is. So the first thing I have to do is I want to end up with x on the left hand side, and I want to end up with a value on the right hand side. So the thing that's stopping me having that is this 7, so I need to take away 7 from this side, and I also need to take away 7 from that side. When I do that, I end up with x equals 3. Question 5b there, I've got 3y equals 15. Again, I want to end up with y equals something. In order to get there, I have to divide both sides by 3. When I divide this by 3, I end up with y. When I divide 15 by 3, I end up with 5. Question 5c. This time, I've got 2 steps that I need to take. So the first one is that I have to get rid of that 4. Because it's a minus 4, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So that leaves me with 2p is equal to 20. Then I can divide both sides by 2. And I end up with p equals 10. Question 5d. It's a different order this time, but we can still follow the same rules in order to solve the equation. The first thing I need to do is I need to add 4 to this side, and I also need to add 4 to this side. So what I'm ending up with is 3x equals 21. Now when I divide both of those by 3, because 3 is a coefficient here, and I want to end up with x equals something, or something equals x. So in order for me to get rid of this, I have to divide both sides by 3, and I'll end up with x equals 7. Or indeed, 7 equals x. It's the same thing, and that's absolutely fine. Question number 6, I have to expand the bracket. Now what I really recommend that you do is when you're multiplying out the bracket, you put in the rainbows. So 4 times x gives you 4x, and 4 times minus 2 gives you minus 8. That's me finished. Now, the people who tend to put in the rainbows, or in more complicated versions of smiley faces as well, they tend to not make mistakes when there's double negatives, etc. So I strongly recommend that you put the rainbows in as you work it out. Question number 7. I've got 7 times y gives you 7y. 7 times minus 2 gives you minus 14. I've still got that original 3y and that 4. So in order to simplify that, I have 7y and 3y is 10y, minus 14 plus 4 gives me minus 10, and that's my final answer. Question number 8. When I'm multiplying out the brackets here, 2p times 3p gives me 6p squared, because p times p is p squared, and 2 times 3 is 6. 2p times minus 1 gives me minus 2p, like so, and that's us finished. Question number 9, we are multiplying by 17, so 214 by 17. I'm using 2 different colours here just to remind you where things go. So 7 times 4 gives me 28, I carry the 2. 7 times 1 gives me 7, plus 2 gives me 9. And 7 times 2 gives me 14. Now it's really important that you remember to put in this 0 here, because I'm not multiplying by 1, I'm multiplying by 10. So 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 2 is 2. Now when I add them up, I just add these two numbers together. So I end up with 8, I end up with 13, I end up with 6, and I end up with 3. 3,638. Now again, there's a few different ways that you can do that. You can do 214 times 10 separately, 214 times 7 separately, and then add them up. Or alternatively, you can do this. It doesn't really matter, as long as you can show working and you can get the right answer. Question number 10, it was 18%. Now, the very word percent means out of 100. So if I have 18 over 100, I need to simplify that as best I can, so I can divide top and bottom by 2, and that gives me 9 over 50. And that's that finished. If you need practice at any of these specific areas, then you can go on to mathsworkout.co.uk and practice there. You know what the passwords and the usernames are. Okay, cheers now, bye.